Hello and welcome to the final edition to this semester's Hawk Talk. It's been an exciting fall season for Quincy Athletics. That excitement has continued throughout the past few weeks, and the Hawks look to keep the ball rolling into next semester.
That's right, Ryan. The excitement really got started from day one when the women's soccer team knocked off the #1 team in the country in the Grand Valley State Lakers.
Adam, you're absolutely right. Winning against the #1 team in the country definitely got the Hawks athletics off to a hot start, and the Hawks teams have never looked back. The women's soccer team reached as high as #2 in the national rankings and accumulated 14 wins this season. Several of the Hawks have taken home a variety of postseason accolades, with 7 Hawks being named to the GLVC All-Conference teams. Senior Ashley Burton has brought home a lot of hardware this offseason. She was named to the first team All-Conference for the 4th time in her career and is just the 5th player in history to accomplish this feat. She has also been named to the first team All-Region and is now eligible for All-American status. She has also been named an academic All-American. Joining Burton on the first team All-Conference was freshman Abby Pulliam, who was also named GLVC Freshman of the Year. Pulliam has also been named to the second team All-Region. Senior Maxine Peet was named to the second team, and sophomores Mackenzie Reef, Allison Burke, junior Maddie Kuhlenberg, and senior Haley Markaway were all named to the GLVC third team.
The women's soccer team wasn't the only team to have a solid season. The men won 12 games and made it all the way to the GLVC tournament championship game and to the NCAA tournament. Redshirt sophomore Artan Amini followed up an impressive freshman campaign with just an impressive sophomore season. Artan was named to the first team All-GLVC as well as to the second team All-Midwest Region team. The former freshman of the year scored 6 goals this season and also added 6 assists. Also on the first team All-Conference was the offensive player of the year, Taylor Reese. Reese is just the 4th player in QU history to be named Offensive Player of the Year. Taylor has also been named to the first team All-Midwest Region and is now eligible for All-American status.
The Hawk football team had a slightly disappointing year when it came to overall record, but when it came to defending the Rock, the Hawks did just that. All 3 wins this season came at home, and the home field advantage was apparent when the Hawks stepped out on the turf of QU Stadium. The Hawks did see the fruits of their labor as 11 Hawks were named to the All-Conference team. 5 Hawks were named to the first team, and they included Gerald Carlton, Greg Eilerman, Chris Harris, Eric Poindexter, and Owen Schnellenberger. Cornerback Akeem Brown was the lone Hawk named to the second team, and the honorable mention team included 5 Hawks. They were linebacker TJ Daniels, offensive lineman Ray Giso, defensive tackle Darian Johnson, quarterback Nick Lonergan, and offensive tackle Devon Vance. The 11 selections were the most in 4 years of the program, and they just had 2 first-team selections prior to this season. Adam, this fall was a very successful one for the Hawks. What did you think of the teams and their seasons?
Well, like you said, the football team kind of struggled with their record, but it was nice to see them play at the new stadium and get all their wins there. That's always nice to see the home team win. And with the soccer team, it's like it every year. They got to the national tournament. That's awesome to see. They didn't go as far as they wanted to, but they got there, and that's always great to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and when you think about it, Coach Carpenter and Coach Musso have done such a great job, getting their process and allowing the players to believe in what they're trying to teach, and they're really seeing the fruits of their labor. We talked about all the different accolades that they've been piling up. You got the Freshman of the Year in Abby Pulliam, Offensive Player of the Year Taylor Reese. I mean, it's really an exciting time here for QU soccer and QU football as well.
Yeah, and with soccer, it's not a question of if they'll make the tournament right now. It kind of seems when are they going to make it and how far are they going to go.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And, looking at the football team, it wasn't quite the season that they wanted to, but when they came home and they were playing on their home turf, it was really tough to beat them. I mean, one of the games they lost on a walk-off field goal, but when they came home, it was really tough to beat the Hawks.
Yeah, and it's great for us fans, too.
You're absolutely right. Join us after the break, and we will be right back here on QU TV Hawk Talk.
The future of the program is very bright. It's an exciting time on QU campus because we have QU TV. We have a television station where students can experience working as a director, an anchor, a reporter, photographer, doing weather, doing sports. We also have a newspaper where students can report, be photo editors, be executive editors. We've got a lot of opportunity there working on the student newspaper. We also provide students with the opportunity to do magazine articles with heavy research and giving them a little bit more time to expand on articles and do some in-depth investigative work. Moving forward, it's exciting because all of the skills they learn in every avenue will translate into what we have in the future, and web writing and mobile writing and all of our distribution platforms. We have an incredible opportunity to grow the department, to grow the program, and to grow students into excellent journalists.
Welcome back. The swimming team has also been very active recently, competing in meets all over. The Hawks swimmers captured their first victories of the season, defeating both Millikan as well as Lincoln College on November 6th in Decatur. And more recently, the swimmers finished second at the Minor Invitational. Next on the schedule for the Hawks is the Cohawk Invite on December 5th.
The women's basketball team continued their hot start with a thrilling come-from-behind victory over Central Missouri last Saturday by a score of 68-65. Led by senior Maggie Cunningham, who is currently averaging 13 points a game to go along with 6.8 assists a game and also pulling down 5 rebounds a game. Not to be outdone, Kara Gerbis and Annika Webster were both averaging double figures, Gerbis averaging 12 points a game and Webster scoring just over 10 a game. Webster, the reigning GLVC Freshman of the Year, is also leading the Hawks by being a force on the glass, pulling down 6 rebounds a game. One of the big reasons that the Hawks' hot start is taking advantage of their chances at the free throw line. The Lady Hawks are currently shooting 76% from the foul line, and believe it or not, the Lady Hawks have actually made more free throws than their opponents have attempted. The Lady Hawks haven't just been successful at the foul stripe, but are also behind the arc and are currently 5th in the country in three-point percentage, shooting 46% from the field. Adam, the Lady Hawks are off to a tremendous start. What do you attribute that to?
I think hard work in the offseason. They developed the personality of their team. They've won, 6 games in a row. They haven't lost yet. They're playing well at home. I don't think you could ask for a better start to the season.
You really couldn't. And, you're led by your seniors. You're led by Maggie Cunningham, obviously leading in scoring and assists and also pulling out 5 boards a game. You really can't ask more from a senior leader.
No, just like Nick Lonergan on the football team, the senior poise really helps win games.
You're absolutely right. Looking at Kara Gerbis has really been playing well. Annika Webster, freshman of the year last year. It's tough to sometimes follow it up, but she's averaging double figures, and it's got to be exciting for Coach Garber and the rest of the team.
Yeah, you've heard of sophomore slump, but not for these guys.
You're absolutely right.
Yep. The men's basketball team got off to a rocky start, playing some very tough competition to open the season, but the Hawks seem to be flying straight as of late. After starting out the season with 3 losses to Grand Valley State, Ferris State, and Upper Iowa, the Hawks have just won 2 of their last 3 and nearly upset Division I Illinois State last Friday. The Hawks trailed by just 1 point with 4 minutes remaining in the game before the Redbirds were able to pull away for the victory. Despite the loss, the Hawks seem to find their stride offensively. Transfer Joseph Tangrelli has found his part in the offense and is averaging almost 18 points a game, and over his last 3 has averaged over 22 a game. Evan McGaffey and Thomas Jackson are both averaging 10.4 points per game. The spark of the bench has been provided by both Nate DeGardens and Bobby Frasco, who provided from the three-point range, as well as solid defense for Coach Marty Bell. Ryan, what do you think about what this team's looked like so far?
It's been an exciting time for them. When you look at the Hawks, it's a tough start. They came in, they lost 3 really tough games. They played Grand Valley, Ferris State, as well as Upper Iowa. So some tough competition to start. But when you look at the Hawks, when they're doing really well, it's when they're getting in transition, when they're pushing the tempo. Because you saw on a couple of those highlights, Godson Inogwe is just throwing down some monster dunks. And it's something to be exciting when you come out to Pepsi Arena and see Inogwe flying through the air and throwing down those dunks. And it's that exciting, that high pace, high intensity offense and defense is what's going to allow for the Hawks to have a good season.
Yeah, get some of your losses out of the way at the beginning of the season so you can learn from them and be ready for the postseason. I think they got a bright future this season.
You're absolutely right, Adam. And one thing that we're looking at, too, is the three-point shooting. Nate DeJardins and Bobby Frasco, they've done a great job from coming off the bench. That's really hard to do. You come off the bench, you're a little bit cold. You had to sit down after warm-ups, but they come off the bench and they provide that three-point shooting that is tough for other coaches to match up with.
Yeah, you got to have your stars on the team. You got to have your role players as well, and you know what? QU Hawks have that.
And they're doing a great job so far. They've won 2 of their last 3, and they nearly upset Illinois State a couple days ago.
That would have been a big win.
That would have been huge here at QU to upset a Division I power like that.
Yeah, and then Illinois State almost beat Kentucky last night, so that could have been real nice.
Then you could have made the argument, no, okay, Quincy beat Illinois State.
Yeah.
We can beat Kentucky.
Yeah.
But we'll digress. Yes, coming up, we're going to have QUTV's own sports anchor Andrew McCulloch to talk about the culmination of the Major League Baseball season and the recent awards that were given out to the respective players. Stay with us to hear all about it.
Well, my first thought was, Brother Ed has set us up. He's got someone hiding in there. They're getting ready to jump out of the curtain and scare us, but yeah, there was no one else there, and I couldn't explain it. It's just one of those phenomenon.
I've always been a skeptic, and I've always thought that there was a rational explanation for all things like that, but being there when that all happened, we didn't have a rational explanation for why that happened.
There it was. Did you hear it?
Oh my! Can I?
Oh gosh, wait, did you see that?
Welcome back. We have a special guest on Hawk Talk today. QUTV Sports Director Andrew McCulloch is with us to have a little conversation about the recent awards in Major League Baseball and what to look forward to next season. Andrew, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me, guys. It's a pleasure to be here.
Hey, all right. First question. Let's talk about the end of the Major League Baseball season.
Okay.
What do you think about the Kansas City Royals winning the World Series this year?
Well, the Royals had a great season last year before losing to the eventual champions, the San Francisco Giants. And mainly that's probably because of Madison Bumgarner's just unbelievable postseason that he had. So they came back really hungry this year, and they ran into a really good Mets team who I thought actually was going to take home the title with their pitching staff. You got just unbelievable pitchers with DeGrom, Matt Harvey, Syndergaard. So the fact that they came out and they beat the Mets was a huge accomplishment. They were able to win the World Series as their ultimate goal this year. Obviously, after the a runner-up performance the year before, you have stars like Lorenzo Cain playing really well, hitting really well. Alex Gordon, the man behind the plate, Salvador Perez, and then you got pitchers like Johnny Cueto, Edison Volquez that just know how to win baseball games for your team. Ryan, I mean, what do you think?
It's hard to argue with all that you just said. Obviously, I was rooting for the Mets because, you want a National League team to win it, being a Cardinals fan like I am. I was rooting for the Mets, but when you look around and you see the talent that the Royals have, I mean, you mentioned it, Salvador Perez plays more games behind the plate than anyone in Major League Baseball, which is hard to believe. I mean, a catcher playing that much and that frequently, it really allows for the pitching staff to be like, okay, I can go out there and I may not have my best stuff, but I've got a guy behind the plate that knows what he's doing. It's kind of like how Yadier Molina does it for the Cardinals.
Absolutely.
He gets behind the plate, and the pitchers really trust what he's calling out there, and he does his homework behind the scenes. He looks up hitters. He makes sure to know their tendencies, and he gets those pitchers excited to go out there and get on the bump. And when you go into a World Series game, like you mentioned, you're going against Matt Harvey, Syndergaard, DeGrom. Those are three of the best young pitchers in the game. And to go up against that, and the Royals, you hate to say it, but they handled that really well. And they handled a very good team. And they were coming in really hot. Daniel Murphy was having one of the best seasons, in Major League postseason history. So when you're coming in against a team like that is so hot, like the Mets were, and the Royals just said, nuh-uh, we're not going to have this loss again. And then they come in and they basically handle the Mets. It was something, as a fan, you're excited about, but when you're watching at home, if you're a Mets fan, it's kind of hard to take.
Yeah, and personally as a Cubs fan, the Mets knocked out my Cubs, so it was nice to see them lose. I didn't want to see them win at all.
Yeah, and one last point, with Salvador Perez, like everything that you said there, but there's also not a lot of catchers that can go out there and hit 300, give you 20 home runs a season like Salvador Perez can. He's an all-star. And, just another thing with Daniel Murphy, it was just one of the most unreal postseasons I've ever seen.
Yeah.
The span from the series with the Dodgers and then the Cubs, the five, hitting home run in 5 straight games against pitchers like Jake Arrieta, Clayton Kershaw, Zach Greinke, all guys that, were in the Cy Young discussion for the, National League. That's just something that was unbelievable. And, the Royals pitching staff was able to contain Murphy, and that was, another big reason why they were able to pull out the World Series victory.
Adam, real quick before you ask the last question, because this just came to mind. Murphy had a lot of time off because they clinched really quickly. Do you think that affected him at all?
It could have. Getting the rest, it can either benefit you or it can hold you back a little bit. If you're on a hot streak and you get hurt, obviously it's going to be for the worst. But, if Murphy was if he was struggling, if he was, tired, not hitting the ball well, and he gets that time off, he can come into the postseason, just looking for a new fresh start. Yeah. Hungry, obviously, like the Mets were really hungry. The Mets and the Cubs kind of came in unexpectedly this year. No one really expected these two teams to be the final two teams in the National League to battle for the pennant. And I think both teams were just fearless, and the Mets came out on top.
That's what you call transition, because that's a great great point into our next question.
Yeah, the second question. Myself and I know you are. We have some big Cub fans around here, along with Cardinal fans.
Absolutely.
The Cubs have won 3 of the 4 major postseason awards. Let's talk about that. And what do you think about the future of the Cubs?
Well, the one I think you can really argue is probably actually one that might surprise you. It's Jake Arrieta winning the Cy Young. Zach Greinke has a phenomenal season. Zach Greinke, 19-3 with a 1.66 ERA, 200 strikeouts. Jake Arrieta, 1.77 ERA, so a little higher. More strikeouts, so a 236, and a 22-6 win-loss record. But Arrieta, ERA under 0.7 in the second half of the season, it's historical. We've never seen anything like that. So it's kind of hard to argue against the fact that Jake Arrieta won Cy Young. As for Rookie of the Year, Chris Bryant winning it, I don't think a lot of people are going to argue with that. LA's Jock Peterson out in left field, he was having a really good beginning of the season before he kind of faltered a little bit. And then Manager of the Year, Joe Madden. The Cubs would not have been where they were without Joe Madden. There was just some kind of spark and chemistry that he had with the players that really got him going, and it really just led the Cubs to play that fearless baseball. And obviously, I think the Cubs have a really bright future.
Yeah, like I said before, as a Cardinal fan, it's tough to see that the Cubs they're starting to find their stride. Theo Epstein done a tremendous job drafting.
Absolutely.
He's really used the draft and the farm system to get the club to where they need to be. And you look at Bryant, he spent some time down in the minors. Obviously, at the beginning of the season, they lost a couple games, and then immediately when they brought him up, they started winning. So the debate was at the beginning of the season, do you hold him down for that long?
Yeah.
Is it going to affect them later in the season because, okay, they didn't win a game early in the year? And it almost did. If you really look at the wild card standings, they would have been the top wild card team, so they would have been able to host that first wild card game. But, it ended up working out for him. But, you look at Chris Bryant and the amount of power that he has, that he generates so much bat speed. And it's unbelievable to watch Chris Bryant play the game. And then Jake Arrieta, you can't say enough about him. He goes out and he dominates every time he gets on the bump. And then Joe Madden, you look at what he did down in Tampa Bay, and then you look at what he's done now in Chicago. Everyone's like, oh, why would you want to leave Tampa Bay? You're basically untouchable. And then you go to Chicago, and you turn the team around in a very short amount of time. That's something, as an NL Central fan and a National League fan, it's going to be the Cubs are going to be around for a nice long time.
Yeah, you compare Cubs Cardinals, the Cubs kind of with this new school powerhouse kind of team. You got players hitting home runs. The 6 home runs they had against the Cardinals in the one game in the NLDS, just unbelievable. And then you've got the Cardinals that they play that old school baseball. They get wins in just the most scrappy ways you can. You got guys just coming up that you don't even hear from, but they believe in Cardinal baseball, and for year in and year out, they just continue to be an absolutely exceptional team. You look at the Cubs, they've got a lot of good young talent on the offensive side of the ball, a lot of hitters, kind of going through the maturation process, for hitting. You got Chris Bryant, Javi Baez, even Starlin Castro, Anthony Rizzo, the guys that have power, they've got contact, they can drive runs in, but they strike out a lot, and they don't always take the best pitches. They swing at a lot of bad pitches, and that's just something that comes along with growing, just like I said, maturing as a hitter. And, I think that's something that's going to help, down the line. I think, they're going to learn how to hit. And the Cubs, like you said with Theo Epstein, they're going to use those hitting pieces to, they're going to have to trade some young prospects in order to get, pitching, unless I don't see them signing like a David Price or a Zach Greinke, one of the top free agents for an absolute huge contract. But we'll see.
It's crazy to think about too when Starlin Castro is considered old on the Cubs, and he's just 25. He's been in the show for quite a few years now, and he's considered old when it comes to Cubs baseball. And for a Cardinal fan, they're starting to get on the old side. Matt Holliday, you saw, he broke down last year. He's just getting a little bit older. Yachty, yeah, he's won 8 consecutive Gold Gloves, but how long can you really expect him to anchor Cardinal pitching and be the wall behind the plate that he's been? Adam Wainwright had another injury last year, and the good thing was that Matt Carpenter stepped up with his biggest power numbers of the year. I believe he ended up with 25, 26 home runs out of the leadoff spot, which is exciting for Cardinals fans. But
Absolutely.
It's just like you look at it, and Jason Hayward's probably going to be gone. He's not going to re-sign.
More than likely.
He declined their qualifying offer. But yeah, it's just something, if you're a Cubs fan, or even hopefully a White Sox fan, if there's a couple of you around, it'll be a fun couple of years for the Cubs fans.
Well, don't get discouraged, Ryan, because you had the emergence of a couple stars. Randall Grichuk, obviously someone that a lot of people have been talking about. He's got a bright future ahead of him. I know he dealt with an elbow injury this last season, but he's still a really good young player. And then you've got Stephen Piscotty as well, who came up in the middle of the summer, who just, he was fantastic. He had 3 or 4 home runs in the division series against the Cubs. And then you've also got a fantastic second baseman in Colton Wong, and he'll continue to develop as well. And like I said, with the Cardinals, they find ways to win games no matter what. I mean, like I've said, you've got guys that I've never even heard of that come up and win games. Like back in the year you guys won the World Series, David Freese, Mr. Clutch himself in November for the Cardinals there. He's not doing anything now for the Angels, but like I said, you've got a lot of guys that buy into the system that Matheny teaches, and a lot of Cardinal fans, they're not fans of Matheny, and I don't understand why, because I think he's a really good coach, and I think that he's got the players bought into what he believes in as a coach.
Yep.
I just wanted to add one thing. Joe Madden, he's a clubhouse guy. The Cubs, I follow them on Twitter and I follow them on Instagram. They had fun all year. That's all you saw them do. They had fun, and I think that shows that they can be that they can be good, and I think that's important for a team to do, have fun.
I think you're right, Adam.
Yeah. Third question. What do you guys think about the rest of the awards, like the MVPs and the Gold Gloves?
MVP was something that, in my mind, was just like, okay, this one's hands down. It's Josh Donaldson, it's Bryce Harper. The two guys that won, Josh Donaldson, Bryce Harper. Harper had a career year, hit .330 with 42 homers. Donaldson also had a career year, 122 runs, 123 RBIs, I think.
123, yep.
It's unbelievable what those guys did this season. Cy Young, Jake Arrieta, and Dallas Keuchel kind of walked away with those as well, and deservingly so. But it's something, when you look at Major League Baseball, it's something to be very excited about, because you got really young talent, which is, it's always been about veteran guys, but it's very young talent. And when you look down the line, Mike Trout, he's been in the league for a long time now, and even the older guys really aren't that old.
That's right. Like you said, you got Starlin Castro, Anthony Rizzo, who are the 25 to 27-year-old guys that are looked at as the vets. And yeah, it's kind of a new age with baseball. It's really exciting to watch.
College basketball and college football are in full swing right now. What are you guys looking forward to with those?
Well, let's talk about college football first. Tough loss for the Notre Dame Irish. I'm not a huge college football fan, but I know a lot from around the Quincy area love the Notre Dame Irish. I believe you're included at
Notre Dame fan,
tough last-second field goal loss from the Stanford Cardinal game. Right now, the four top teams that are looking at the playoff picture right now are Clemson, Alabama, Oklahoma, and Iowa. Surprisingly enough,
that's a big surprise.
Surprisingly enough, it's not Ohio State after they won the national title last year. That was kind of all the talk coming into this year was Cardale Jones, J.T. Barrett, their 2 quarterbacks. Yep. Neither one of them has really lived up to the hype this year.
They're right there, though, if you really look at it. Iowa and Michigan State playing in the Big Ten championship game, the Pac-12 championship games this weekend as well, SEC championship game. So there can be a lot of changes between now and by next Tuesday. So really looking at that, it could be some big shakeup in those rankings. One team I'm looking forward to is Clemson. You haven't heard a lot about them. Obviously, the #1 team in the country, but you really don't hear. They're not talking about them on ESPN or any of those shows. Really, it just kind of says, okay, Clemson's #1, but let's talk about Alabama. Let's talk about Iowa.
Your SEC teams, pretty much,
exactly.
And the Big Ten as well, kind of with Iowa, because a lot of people are surprised about them. With Clemson, they've got a Heisman candidate in there, quarterback Deshaun Watson. He's got 27 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, but a lot of people believe that the #1 Heisman candidate is out of Alabama. Their running back Derrick Henry, who's got 22 touchdowns rushing. and almost 2,000 yards rushing. It just has been an unbelievable season for him.
Yeah.
And, I look at this Alabama team, a lot of people gripe about saying, oh, SEC is kind of dominant, but I look at this Alabama team, and I think that they've got to be the favorite right now.
Yeah.
I would like to see Iowa win. I'm a Big Ten guy. My team is Illinois, and, well, they're not very good at football. Let's just keep it we'll keep it that way. But, I'm thinking Alabama-Clemson maybe national title game.
That'll be a good one.
Yeah.
I'd have to agree with you. I think Alabama's going to win the SEC and Clemson's going to handle North Carolina, and I think it'll be a 1-2 matchup. But let's talk about basketball now. Who are you a fan of?
Oh, Illinois, man, absolutely. I mean, U of I fan, but in football, they're not really that great. A team obviously that for the last probably 5 years or so that's been dominating ever since John Calipari went is Kentucky.
Yeah.
I mean, their recruiting class is always top notch. And you've got some Maryland, Michigan State, some Big Ten teams in there as well. And then you've also got, a battle in the Big 12 for the last couple of years in Iowa State and Kansas. So college basketball is kind of exciting around the Midwest area.
Yeah, and I'm a big Duke fan. So Grayson Allen has really stepped up this year. You lose 3 first-round draft picks like Duke did last year, and then to still come out and be ranked in the top 10 like they are year in and year out, I want to say they have some ridiculous streak going on of being in the top 25. So it's been an exciting year so far, college football as well as college basketball. But let's get back into Quincy athletics. We're starting to wind down the first semester. Mm-hmm. What are you two looking forward to in the upcoming months for the rest of Quincy athletics?
I'm excited for some hoops. Quincy's always been pretty good in basketball, and I just love going to those games, so I'm excited for that. What about you, Andrew?
Yeah, going into that a little deeper, I think with the men's basketball team, it's can they stay healthy? They've had some injuries. Scotty Bruxford out, torn meniscus. Dalton Hoover hurt his knee as well. He's out for the season. Can these guys stay healthy, and can they kind of turn their season around? It's always fun watching the flashy plays from Godson and Agwe. Mm-hmm. The team can also knock down a lot of threes, as you guys were saying earlier. And for the women's basketball team, it's, hot start. Maggie Cunningham on fire. Unbelievable start for Maggie. Senior leadership, like you guys also talk about with Nick Lonergan and the football team. So, with those two teams, kind of a tale of two different starts, but both of them have a lot of talent.
Talking about the basketball team a little bit, I was talking to a few of them not too long ago, and those injuries are really starting to, take a toll. When you've got injured big guys in their game against Robert Morris, Evan McGaffey had to stay in for most of the second half, even though they were leading by about 35, 40 points or whatever. And he just had to stay in the game. So if he would have went down, the Hawks would have been in a lot of trouble. So luckily, the Hawks have been able to manage those injuries, and I think Scotty Bruxworth might be back. Hopefully sooner rather than later. Okay. Yeah. We're just looking forward to Hawk athletics. Obviously, the spring's starting to come around. We want to get that warm weather back because, I'm not a cold weather guy. So hopefully the spring comes around and we can have just as much success as we had in the fall, as well as the winter and going into the spring.
I know what sport Ryan is looking forward to playing this spring, baseball.
A little bit of baseball.
A little bit of baseball for old Ryan Snyder.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. It should be an exciting year, bringing a lot of guys back, and hopefully we can have another good year like last year.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Well, that'll just about do it for us on Hawk Talk. Thank you for joining. I am Adam Longo.
And I'm Ryan Snyder with Andrew McCulloch. Andrew, thanks for joining us, buddy.
Appreciate it.
Pleasure, guys. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
We've had a lot of fun this semester, and thank you for joining us. And as we always end our broadcast, go Hawks.